Jimmy Johnson, during an appearance here on Fox Sports Radio with Colin Cowherd, announced that's it. He said he loved every minute of it, being part of the number one pregame show on Fox all these years. They have dominated the ratings. He said he loved every single minute of it. Best time of his career. This is a career where he was a college champion, dominant teams at Miami, and also the Dallas Cowboys. And Jimmy Johnson saying doing TV, really cool. So the reason I'm bringing this up, in fact, we actually have, just to prove I'm not lying, we have a little taste of this. Here is Jimmy Johnson commenting on, that's it. It's all over. His TV career done after all this amazing run at Fox Sports. Take a listen.
I've made an extremely difficult decision. I've been thinking about it for the last 4 or 5 years, and I've decided to retire from Fox. And I'm going to miss it. I'm going to miss all the guys, and I'll see them occasionally. But it has been a great run starting back 31 years ago.
Yeah, imagine that, 31 years. And then I say, wait a minute, I'm getting not that far away from there. Wait a minute, holy crap. How the hell does that happen? Anyway, it's not about me, so it's about Jimmy Johnson, but it's really about that job. That is one of the plum jobs in sports television, the Jimmy Johnson coach's job, if you will, on the Fox pregame show, which is the top pregame show out there. And so the immediate speculation pivoted to who? That's right. Ding, 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 ding. Sean McVay. Yeah, you can ram it all day. You can ram it all night. The Rams coach. And it is interesting to note that Sean McVay popped up on the Pat McAfee Grab Ass show and was asked about whether or not he had any interest, not necessarily about the Fox job, but whether McVay had any interest in media gigs. And he said, of course. McVay saying, but I think we've got some more stuff we want to accomplish, meaning coaching, obviously, McVay said when asked about that. So let us discuss the question for the esteemed panel, which you are part of. Would Sean McVay really leave the Rams for the Jimmy Johnson chair at Fox? I was just assuming McVay's going to be back coaching the Rams and we're past the coaching carousel time and all that. So I've got Sounding Board, Harley Davidson, and White Elephant. And we will combine all of these things together, and we'll spin the wheel is what we're going to do. So there we go, round and round and round and round and round. And round. All right, so I'm nodding my head yes. Now, do I think it's likely to happen? No. Is there a chance in the multiverse somewhere in a dimension where Sean McVay says, you know what, this is my shot? I want that job. I can have that job for the next 40 years. I don't have to worry about anything. I don't have to worry about the stress of coaching and replacing quarterbacks and receivers and defensive players, and I can just ride off into the sunset. Yes. And I also believe there's a book written, not a very good movie, but the book was pretty good, The Magic Christian, years ago. And everyone's got their price, right? Everyone's got their price. And so, yeah, there is a cartoon check that could be written big enough, like those old publisher clearinghouse checks, that McVay would take, and then he would leave the Rams. Now, you got to remember, think of this like, for McVay, television is like the cute girl at the bar. McVay has been flirting with the cute girl at the bar, buying her drinks and things like that, and it's just whetting his appetite. Like, for example, he appeared on the Fox pregame show last month, at the Super Bowl. You think that's a coinky-dink? McVay just popped up there and was on the pregame festivities there before the Super Bowl, showed up at the game there in New Orleans. You think that maybe? Yeah, I don't know. So eventually he's going to make them. I'm convinced of it. I'm trying to enjoy every second here. McVay eventually will leave the Rams, and whether it's Fox or Amazon or some future media partner that hasn't had media rights, eventually it's going to happen. And if you look at him eventually consummating the relationship and going full-time McVay to television, it's very enticing because it's easy street, right? When you do TV, and I got a little taste of it, just a very small weekend taste the last couple of years doing TV. Man, is it easy. You got a staff of producers and directors and people that their sole purpose is to make you look good, right? You get paid big money. And a guy like Sean McVay, you're just a sounding board. That's all. You're like a sounding board. You just throw out a bunch of cliches and platitudes, and meathead sports fans, ooh, they get so excited. Like the dumbest things. But if you have a resume as a coach or a player, it's like, oh my God, he's so smart. And then you think about, well, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. But he's got the resume. So you're like, ooh la la. Just like that. That's wild. And when you think about Jimmy Johnson's life at Fox and all these years, and different quarterbacks and coaches have come and gone and all that, and he really retired, Jimmy Johnson, from retirement. He really did. You retire from, that's a job. You work once a week, half the year. And the hardest part for Jimmy Johnson was the commute. Planes, trains, and automobiles. That was the hardest part. He lives in Key West. Key West to L.A., that's a pretty long commute on a weekly basis. And so that was the issue there. And he didn't always go back and forth. He would stay in L.A. for a month at a time, whatever. But McVay is 39, right? And so you'd think at that age, that's a young age for coaching, that McVay still has the passion and the perseverance to keep going. But you keep hearing the noise from people that are around that world that McVay wants to do television. Eventually, McVay is going to do television full time. The Rams, I thought he was done a couple years ago. I thought McVay was going to leave, and then they worked it out. He came back, and he's one of the great coaches of this era in the NFL, and we'll see how long it lasts. I know it's not going to last forever. Now, if Sean McVay says no bueno to that job, and I'm sure they'll have some back-channel conversations, the TV executives at Fox and McVay, and if he says no, what are some of the other candidates for that Jimmy Johnson chair? So the initial thought is that it's so late in the game now that they're going to have to put some stooge in there, some filler like Mike McCarthy. Can sit there in the corner, eat donuts on the pregame show or something like that. But eventually, it's the Harley-Davidson campaign from years ago, go big or go home. Right? That's a marketing campaign, go big or go home. So if not McVay, you immediately say, well, what about Mike Tomlin? Tomlin's another guy whose name has popped up for big-time media jobs from the Pittsburgh Steelers. The problem there, and you know this, is the Steeler job it's a tenured professor job. It's lifetime employment. It's lifetime employment. Everyone brings up the number. They've like 3 coaches since like the 60s. It's insane. It's absolutely wild. And but do I think Tomlin would be great at television? Sure. Because Tomlin we love Tomlin on this show. Every week we get, during football season, some dopey statement of the week from Mike Tomlin. He's a smooth talker. He's charismatic. He oozes confidence. He's a leader of men. He's a perfect keynote speaker. He would dominate. And he's a little older, actually a lot older than Sean McVay. Tomlin's in his early 50s. He's 52. But he's got that sweetheart deal. He can have that Steeler job as long as he wants in Western Pennsylvania. Will he be swayed by the quality of life? Any of these guys. And if not Tomlin, well, the next one you immediately pivot to is Andy Reid. Big Red. Why would Andy ever leave Kansas City? Well, at some point he's going to get too old. Will that be after he breaks Don Shula's wins record with Patrick Mahomes? Stay tuned. And then outside of that, wild card name. How about Dan Campbell? Dan Campbell's established himself as a legit coach with the Lions. The Lions have been a playoff team, something in my childhood I never thought would ever happen, where the Lions would be consistently a playoff team. It has happened. And Dan Campbell's the ultimate meathead coach. Couldn't you see him pop up on TV and just kind of roar in the corner there? And like Gronkowski, meathead kind of caveman commentary. Could absolutely see that. Now, all right, last word. Turning the page. Quickly! All right. So some news out. Minnesota has decided that they are not going to franchise tag their quarterback from 2024. So immediately the floodgates have opened up. Soon-to-be free agent, soon-to-be former Viking quarterback Sam Darnold is already being connected to the Raiders or the Giants. Which spot would be a better fit? So on this one, I sigh because, remember, the reporting a day ago was Tom Brady doesn't want Sam Darnold. Now, a day later, well, the Raiders are interested in Sam Darnold. Who goofed? I've got to know. Now, someone's clearly lying, and I'd like to believe that Tom Brady wants nothing to do with Sam Darnold. So I'm going to go with the Giants, butcher knife to the throat. I'll go with the Giants and Sam Darnold just for giggles because he's already effed over one New Jersey team, the Jets. Why not go to the other New Jersey team and screw their fan base over too, Sam Darnold, and then go 2 for 2? He'll become the most hated quarterback in the history of the tri-state area, which I would love to see. And he's already flopped there once. Why not flop there? If you can fail there once, you can fail there again. It's a spin on the Sinatra song from back in the day. Now, the issue with Darnold is obvious. And every man, woman, and child knows this. The issue is there's a coding problem. There's a glitch in the coding with Sam Darnold. We saw it in Minnesota, surrounded by elite playmakers, a pretty good coaching staff in Minnesota. Darnold went out and tossed for over 4,000 yards, had 35 touchdowns, limited interceptions, and everyone's going, whee, Sam Darnold's arrived. And then the pressure cooker got turned up for Sam Darnold. That winner, number 1 seed game, final weekend of the year against the Detroit Lions, and Sam Darnold went out there and he rode the Vomit Comet. And then he did it again against the LA Rams in the playoff game. He actually curled up. We saw this on television. He curled up face down in the fetal position and started sucking his thumb in those last 2 games. It was fascinating. And he is the white elephant of free agency. He is the booby prize at the quarterback position. Because based on his numbers, the comps are, hey, you got to pay that guy a lot of money and all that. And then you look at him and you're like, oh, man, even if he plays well, it's one of those, eventually the other shoe's going to drop. It always does. At some point, even if you win a lot of games, you're going to have to play in a playoff game. And that is when Sam Darnold needs diapers. That's the problem. Okay, that's the issue. Buyer beware. But just for S and giggles and for the talk show, I'd like to see Darnold go to the Giants because not that the Giants have been relevant in years, but it would be fun, and I could then annoy my friends who are Giant fans. A certain moving man who loves the Giants and doesn't call the show much anymore, but I could bust his chops and some other people.